So welcome to week 5 of the Winter Wellness Plan with Jack Green and myself, Rob Stevenson. Hi, Jack. How are you doing today?
Hi Rob. Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm a 7, which tends to be quite high for me. I'm consistently normally kind of 5, 6. So yeah, quite a good day. What about you? Obviously I can see, but what about you?
Yeah, 6 out of 10. So I'm feeling the effects of long COVID again this week. So a bit of fatigue, energy levels a bit lower. So generally on good form, but again, that energy is sort of depressing my mood a little bit. So just trying to do all of the things that we preach and take care of myself. I'm actually taking tomorrow off to have a kind of day of recovery and spend some time with my wife. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to that. But what's driving your 7, Jack? What's keeping you up?
I'm feeling quite a big sense of connection with a lot of people. I'm lucky to work in this space, same as you, and able to help a lot of people. And we've talked about it many times, and on this as well. Connection and purpose are huge drivers for both of us. So when that's happening, I tend to be in quite a good place.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. So week 5 is all around manage. It's manage our finances and manage our working day. And we're delighted that for financial well-being, we've got Schroeder's Personal Wealth, and the other session this week will be from Lee Dunkley. So tune into that. It's some good tips around how to manage finances and what financial wellness is all about. But we're not experts in that, Jack. So we're going to talk about how to manage our day, and specifically around the fact that we're all working remotely now, or a lot of us are, and we've been doing so for a number of months, but actually we're not that good at structuring our day, are we? And I've seen a stat that we're not commuting, and yet we're working more hours in the day. What's that all about?
I think it's just too easy for us to work. Where that laptop or whatever device is there that you work on, it's right in front of you. You don't even have to roll out of bed. So it's very easy when you know you've got stuff to do, there might be deadlines, just to go, right, I'll get on with it now. And then you look at the clock and however many hours have gone. And it's too easy as well not to switch off. So setting boundaries is going to be a huge part of working from home for everyone, of when is it work time and when is it at home and chill time, which normally you get with your commute. That will break it up. So we've got to find a way to replace that.
Yeah, boundaries, really interesting. We're going to explore that. But the commute's a big one, isn't it? Because a lot of us, the commute was really stressful. I know for me going on that packed commuter train, it was never particularly enjoyable. But what it did do was provide a buffer between home and work, and an opportunity to decompress after the working day. And whether you choose to read a book or look at a magazine or whatever it was, we've sort of lost that time, haven't we? And we tend to be working straight up to when we're deciding we're going to finish, and then we're back right into family or home life. So talking about those boundaries, what sort of things have you seen and put in place yourself to create those boundaries?
Yeah, for me personally, I make sure I know I used to travel an hour and a half to the office, so quite a reasonable commute. So I'm using the hour and a half now to be, am I using that in my physical activity? Am I using that to get out with the dog, out in nature, make sure I'm eating well? I've got more time to have my breakfast and have a good breakfast, or catch up with things I really enjoy, read the news, which sometimes isn't great to enjoy, but it's things that you've got time to do now that before you might not have. Or you can even prepare properly.
Yeah.
As much as we're saying, oh yeah, you shouldn't work, you might be able to prepare, be more organized in that hour and a half that allows the day to run a little easier. What do you do?
Yeah, so for me, I'm fortunate enough that I've got an office, so I can actually physically close the door and switch the lights off. I've got all these studio lights everywhere actually because I do lots of recording. So I literally have 3 sets of lights I can just turn off and it's dark and I'm done. So I think there's a bit of a ritual around closing the door. For me, I like to just try and get outside a little bit at the end of the working day, even if it's just for a short walk, because I think it's that decompression moment for me. It's that putting a boundary in place and having a bit of a ritual. I also quite like a little game of football when my lad comes home from school, which again, probably haven't finished work then, but it does provide a break where I'm dedicating 30 minutes with him, and that gives me a boost. But I think I like the idea of using the commute to replicate some of that space, but also, as you say, get out into nature, take some exercise, because I think it's a really important part of our regime to just have those breaks between home and work, or otherwise we're probably then feeling like we're living in the office rather than working from home. And I think there's an important mental distinction, isn't there?
Yeah, hugely. And it's something, when I lived in Florida, I was very lucky to train in Florida for a year, but I lived next to the track. I could see the track from my bedroom. So it felt like I never left. And
Yeah.
mindset wise, I was always switched on to athletics.
Yeah.
Whereas when I moved back to England, I had to drive for 45 minutes to the track I trained at. And actually that drive was so important in giving me that switch off. So it is, as you said, it's finding that actual switch that can create that kind of difference between what is work and home.
Yeah, yeah. And what has that been for you? I think you remember telling me about kind of your desk position or something like that.
Yeah, so when I was working in my bedroom, the spare bedroom, which is now an office, because working so much in it. But at the time, it was a case of I simply moved the desk from one place in the room to another. So it felt like this is my workspace and this is my non-working space, just so that I wasn't going to bed looking at the desk thinking I've got to go sit there for the next however many hours, and almost wouldn't allow me to sleep properly because I'd be looking at it going, oh, that's where I do all the work that I don't want to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was as simple as that. So finding little changes can make a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the act of shutting down is important. You know, for me, it's switching all the lights off. But I think if your computer is visible, is physically shutting that down, closing the laptop, putting it away, and that's the working day done. And the other one that I learned from a client actually was it's quite nice to write a done list. You know, we're big on to-do lists and things that we've got in our future. But sometimes at the end of the day, if you can spend a few minutes thinking, right, what are my achievements today? What have I ticked off? What have I done? And that can give a real sense of satisfaction, and it can sort of calm the mind down to think, okay, I've achieved quite a lot. It's good that I can now get some family time, some recovery time, some leisure time.
Yeah, that's something that I preach about. It's something that really helps me with my mental health because I'm always looking at that end goal and being, well, what, there's this massive deadline, have I reached that? Or this huge goal I want to aspire to and aim to. And sometimes I'll look at my to-do list, all those big things, and go, oh, I haven't completed any of them. When actually, when I was really struggling with my mental health, just getting out of bed was an achievement. Just making breakfast, going out for a walk, whatever it might be. So I write down everything I do in the day now.
Yeah.
I tick them off. And then by the end of the day, even if I haven't done that really big thing, which realistically, we don't do a massive thing every day. It's not possible. But it allows me to look back and go, wow, actually, I've done a lot today, and appreciate all those little steps, which, you know, you and I have talked about so much about appreciating the journey. And that's a simple way of applying that.
Yeah, brilliant. So we're building up a few tips here. Just to summarize, is use the commute to get outside, ideally to get into nature if you can, but maybe do some exercise. Have a ritual at the end of the day to shut down, to switch off, to say, right, that is when we're finishing, and stick to that, and physically have something that we do, and use a done list if that is helpful. And then what about the way we work in the middle bits, Jack? You know, we hear a lot about, you know, Zoom fatigue, Zoom burnout. We're very much focused, and that's my focus kind of symbol there on this camera and this screen. And you know, we seem to be packing a lot more in, and I'm really guilty of this. I see the clock ticking, and I think, right, there's another meeting coming up, and I'm not prepared for it. And we're packing more in because we don't have those physical constraints that we've got to travel for a meeting or walk to a meeting room, do we? We can just do it all here.
Yeah, as you said, normally it's a case of, well, I've now got to walk over to here or go to this office in different part of whatever city, wherever you might be. And we don't have that now. It's very easy to just one click and off we go. And also it's very convenient to schedule in half an hour meetings because it just works in your diary. Yeah. But the problem with that is we go back to back. There's no break. So as you said, you can't prepare. There's no de-stress. You can't debrief on what you've just had and take things in. So something that I applied in some of my work previously, but I've seen lots of other places do, is change that meeting culture. How much time should those meetings be? So not just doing half an hour, 60 minutes, doing 20 minutes or 50 minutes. So you just have that little time, go grab a drink, cup of tea, whatever it might be. That's enough to just give you that break, take away a bit of that Zoom fatigue. I don't know if you've seen anything similar, Rob.
Yeah, I've actually seen organizations who only allow meetings to be scheduled that way. They put a limit on the sort of calendar, so you can't schedule a 30-minute meeting. It could only be a 25. And I think that's good practice. And I think also the same applies, doesn't it? If we're kind of doing deeper work that's not meeting focus, but actually we still remind ourselves to get up and stretch and make a cup of tea and hydrate. Um, every hour or so, isn't it? Whatever works for you. And I know you've talked and spoken about this in the past.
Yeah, so I've seen a lot of this happening and I love seeing it. And this whole idea of, well, how long can I be productive for? And I'm hugely passionate about the fact that if you do your work in a certain amount of time, you're done.
Yeah,
Don't do any more. Like, cool, tick the box. I've had so many times where I've sat there for hours and hours and hours and done nothing.
yeah,
So what I've seen a lot of places do is try and work for 60 minutes. If that's what works for you, brilliant. And you set an alarm on your phone. And after that, you have a little break. Some people can't do 60, so try 45, try 30, try 15. Because actually, I want to see the input or the output being really high rather than just sit at your desk for forever and ever and get nothing done and feel quite down about it. So is there a way you can change your working time to be more productive? And also setting that alarm really gives you that block of, oh no, I'm done now. I need to take a break. In the end, we're prioritizing our well-being. And this is what we're all about right now, aren't we, on this program, and hopefully why people are listening to it, because they want to
yeah,
prioritize their well-being. So we need to
yeah.
do that in more than just the physical activity and so on. It's a big part of your culture and your own behaviors.
Yeah, brilliant. So the idea of setting an alarm and experimenting on what that sort of productivity time is for you, and getting away from our desk. And we would do that a lot more in the physical workplace. And I think a lot of this is coming back to, we kind of need to train ourselves to be more accountable or have more self-discipline where our well-being is concerned, because actually the office would impose some of this on us with the need to walk around, the need to go to chat to a colleague, to get to a meeting room, to go and get your lunch from somewhere. And we need to sort of build this into our routine. So I love the idea of setting an alarm, get up, go for a stroll, get outside, some fresh air, come back, you're recharged, you're ready to go again. So I think that's a really good one for people to take on board.
Yeah, and there's a few other things. I have a few little pet hates that I've seen within offices and so on, and I'm sure is carrying on now. And the first one is about where you eat.
Yeah,
I hate seeing people eat at their desk.
yeah,
Food's really good for your well-being, not just in a physical way, but you can enjoy food. It's
yeah,
also a chance to possibly be social, and even at home, you might have housemates or family or an opportunity to maybe just catch up with someone else on the
yeah,
phone whilst you're eating. But don't do that whilst doing your work. You don't enjoy your food. So I absolutely hate that when I see people eating at their desks. And then the other ones are in terms of a bit more creative and seeing people use their email signatures.
yeah,
So I've seen a lot of it where, because senior leadership might send emails at whatever time, because we're all different, right? Some people will be up at the middle of the night because that's when they work best, and that's fine.
yeah,
But the problem is a lot of people feel that they have to reply or be online at those times. So as simple as putting in your email signature, being like, this is literally when I'm productive. I do not expect you to reply
yeah,
straight away, like giving people permission. And we talked about that a lot. And the same way you can almost put out of office,
yeah.
your out of office emails on a lot more regularly than just when you're on holiday, right? So that when you leave the office, that email goes and just says to people, look, I'm not on, so you're not getting a reply. And
Yeah,
that does it for you rather than you feeling like you have to be switched on, which we
yeah,
know with technology is huge. What do you think,
yeah.
Rob?
I think that's brilliant. It's just sparked off. I've used out of offices to kind of proactively talk about well-being, actually. But I think, imagine that if the CEO had got an out of office on that, I'm not contactable for the next hour because I'm off out taking some exercise. That's brilliant, isn't it? I think we can use those in our teams to again create cultures of wellness where prioritizing our well-being is encouraged, and that there's that permission in the organization. So yeah, I think I'd like to set our viewers a challenge of thinking, how can we creatively use our out of office to send a strong message that we're prioritizing well-being at the right time and create a culture of people following suit. So brilliant. Lots of good stuff in there, Jack Green. So for everybody, think about how you're managing. And I guess the other one, Jack, before we finish up, is sort of managing the physical space, isn't there? And that can be quite difficult in terms of physically being in the right position that is healthy and safe. And we're often crunched up enough. We're hunched over a screen, aren't we?
Yeah, well, I'm going to be the bad example of this, and you're the good example because your office is decked out. You are fully prepared. Whereas
Yeah.
when I first started in lockdown, laptop was just down as it is, no keyboard, no mouse. So the desk was low, sitting on an awful chair. And actually, I was having to do more treatment and foam rolling and self-care than when I was an athlete. Because if I wasn't looking at my laptop, I was looking at my phone. So I was like Hunchback of Notre Dame kind of
Yeah.
thing. So for me, it's even to the point right now, I've got a few extra books on top of my stand just to get the laptop at the right height.
Yeah.
And, so it doesn't have to be buy a fancy stand, but it's, desk height chair. And in the end, you're going to spend a lot of time in your home offices now, whether we like it or not. So we need to invest in ourselves and prioritize our physical health, because the stat is that I think it's the second biggest, reason for absence is musculoskeletal issues.
Yeah.
So we're contributing to that right now. So taking responsibility for your workspace is really important.
Yeah, and ask your employer as well, because I think there is a duty of care there to provide a safe working environment. And if we're needing to ask people to work at home, we need them to work safely. And I know many employers have been really good on this, but yeah, don't be looking down at a laptop and hunched up. And again, make sure you're stretching. And the yoga sessions with Lena that we're introducing to the program are great for this, aren't they? To just give our bodies a chance to recover from the false posture that we do working at a screen all day.
Yeah, and Lena's sessions are fantastic. So I'm not a huge yoga fan. I've come from a sport where it's do it hard, do it fast. That's what it is. So yoga was always the opposite. So I've always been like, not too fast. But seeing Lena's sessions, and I've done a few of them now, and yeah, they're part of my regular routine now. So hopefully people can check that out and enjoy it as well.
Yeah, brilliant. So everyone, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully some good tips there as to managing your working day. Do check out the session with Lee on managing our well-being from a financial point of view, and then stay well and stay connected, everyone. Thank you very much.